Great things happen outside the comfort zone. Unfortunately, it doesn't always feel good there. Being uncomfortable is the first step to change, and change is scary. Fear of the unknown can creep in and make you take a step back into your zone of comfort. But you can't expect different results when you're doing the same things you've always done. In this episode, I'm sharing how you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You'll learn why stepping outside of your comfort zone leads to amazing things and how you can put yourself in a position to get uncomfortable, but be okay with it. Here's to new, exciting, and unknown blessings coming our way. Welcome to the City Girl Savings Podcast. I'm Raya Reeves, founder and finance coach of City Girl Savings. I turned my life around with budgeting many years ago, and now I'm on a mission to help others do the same. I fully believe that you can enjoy your life on a budget, and this weekly show will focus on the intersection of money and the city girl lifestyle. Join me every week along with some special guests as I share my experiences, advice, and guidance on navigating life and money as an experience-loving millennial. Before we get into today's episode, I want to answer a City Girl Solutions question that came in. How do you recommend someone get started with budgeting if they have never done it before? Well, whoever asked this question, you have come to the right place. I am a money coach who specializes in budgeting. And I would say if you have never budgeted before, let's take it slow. Let's keep it simple. I am an advocate, a believer, and a follower of the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. My dad used to say that, and I feel like he is looking down on me and chuckling, but he's right. Keep it simple. So when it comes to getting started with budgeting, keep it simple. So in order to do that, we need a few things. First, we need to know exactly how much money is coming in on a monthly basis. And I'm talking consistent money. What are you consistently making every month? Write that number down. Next, we need to know what is consistently going out on a monthly basis. So what are your normal bills and spending, and what are those amounts? From there, we can see, does our income cover our expenses? If it does, wonderful. This is a great spot to be in. If it does not, what expenses can you get rid of? And if there are none, how can you bring in more money? Because at minimum, our income needs to cover our expenses. Now, let's assume that it does. Your income covers your expenses and you have money left over. You have a profit. Now you can start working towards your goals. So that would be like saving every month, paying down debt at a faster rate, putting money to the side for an upcoming trip or an expense. So you can leverage this leftover amount to help you reach your goals. You can also leverage this leftover amount to indulge in moderation in the things you love. So if you did not include any fun or discretionary spending in that original list of expenses, now would be a good time to say, okay, how much can I afford to actually spend on myself month over month? Whatever that number is, we have to stick to it. But at least you know what it is, so you can move forward accordingly. So if you've never budgeted before, you've never created a budget, income, expenses, allocating what's left over. Now, I don't want to take it too far, but start there and then look at the City Girl Savings website, listen to the podcast, because once you've mastered that, that's when you'll want to move on to things like tracking your spending and making sure that you have a budgeting strategy or system that works for you. But to start, income, expenses, and a plan for what's left over. Okay, let's get into today's episode. And I think a good place to start is dissecting the comfort zone just for a minute. What is the comfort zone? Well, your comfort zone is your safe space. It's what you've always known. It's what you're used to. It's something you've likely grown content with and don't necessarily feel the need to change. And everybody's zone of comfort will be custom to them, right? But when you think about your comfort zone, think of it as your comfort place. You feel content. You're happy. Things are the way they are. Even if you want more, you're not doing anything to seek out more because you're comfortable. It's your comfort zone. But how often does the desire for more creep in, right? So if you are in your comfort zone and you're content with the way things are, really think about how often you think about wanting more, or how often the desire for more, to obtain more, to work for more, to achieve more creeps in. How many times have you thought about leaving your job, or moving to a new city, or getting out of your relationship? How many times have you thought about those things and wondered, what if? Well, unfortunately, until you jump out of your comfort zone, you'll always be living from a place of what if. And let me be the first to say that if you are 100% happy with the way things are and you don't feel any desire to change them, you don't care what's on the other side, there is no inkling to obtain more, then amazing. I'm happy for you. Because by all means, happiness does not equal success. So if you found you're happy, live in that. However, if you are unhappy, but you don't like being uncomfortable, I'm going to challenge you to really listen to the words I have to say. It's going to feel scary, but that's okay. You will be okay. So we've dissected the comfort zone for just a minute. Let's break down discomfort. If great things happen outside of the comfort zone, that means you have to experience discomfort to obtain great things. Let me repeat that. If great things happen outside of the comfort zone, that means you have to experience discomfort to obtain great things. So, what is it about discomfort that seems so scary and uncomfortable? Like, what about it? I think first, it's our brains. It's the way we're designed and triggered to think. Our brain seems to associate discomfort with bad. Discomfort equals bad. And I don't think that's necessarily true. Just because something is uncomfortable doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not what we're used to. So all that means is we have to shift the narrative in our brain that discomfort is bad. Instead, maybe we should look at being uncomfortable as a precursor to hitting a new level. Okay. As I'm saying this, I understand this is a very complicated concept to understand, but just bear with me and, try to hear me out. And don't be ashamed if you have to listen to this episode a few times to really get what I'm saying. So if we can understand that our brain associates discomfort with bad, but we can also understand that discomfort isn't bad. Just because our brain associates discomfort with bad doesn't mean that being uncomfortable is bad, right? So we can kind of take those two thoughts and agree with them, right? So I think we've covered that, but let's pull the thread through a little bit. Adding to that, our brain does not connect discomfort with happiness, right? So discomfort equals bad, which means discomfort does not equal good or happiness. So if we're uncomfortable, our brain is telling us we're unhappy. But is that really true? Just because we're uncomfortable doesn't mean we're unhappy. It just means we're in unknown territory. So once again, we have to shift the narrative. Just like shifting the narrative from discomfort is bad, we have to shift the narrative that discomfort means we'll be unhappy. Not true. Discomfort means we're getting closer to our goals, or we're getting closer to becoming the person who reaches those goals. Doesn't that thought make you happy? Honesty time. Money management is not rocket science. It just feels that way because we tie our emotions, experiences, and sometimes our self-worth to our money. That needs to change, and I'm on a mission to help drive that change. In my new free masterclass, I'm sharing 3 cold, hard facts you need to know to shift your money perspective and finally start seeing results in your situation. I'm going to show you how to level up your finances so you can begin to see forward progress with your goals and have something to show for the money you work so hard for. The masterclass is only here for a short time and it's happening soon. So save your spot now by going to citygirlsavings.com/masterclass. I can't wait to see you there. So I think the question now becomes, how do we find happiness in the discomfort? How do we associate being uncomfortable with leveling up? Because if we can get our brain to think that discomfort or being uncomfortable is a sign that we're moving towards happiness, or it's a sign that we are leveling up, we'll be in better shape. Now, let me just take a second to say, if you're in a truly dangerous spot, right? So if you are uncomfortable because a lion is staring you in the face, that is very different. That is like your brain protecting you, trying to keep you safe, right? I'm talking about doing something that you probably know you should be doing, but it makes you uncomfortable, so it's scary. Okay, I just had to throw that out there. So going back to what I was saying, the question is, how do we find happiness in the discomfort? How do we associate being uncomfortable with leveling up? And so, in my opinion, I think there are a few ways we can do this. First, look back to a time where you were uncomfortable. How did everything pan out? Did you learn something? Did you achieve something? Did you accomplish something you didn't expect to? Even if it was simply being comfortable the next time you were in a similar situation, that's something to be happy about. Another thing you can do is get uncomfortable more often. So if asking a question in a work meeting terrifies you, vow right now to do it in your next meeting. If having a hard conversation gives you feelings of anxiety, power through. If you're scared of starting a business because you don't know how it's going to turn out, just start. Sometimes the only way through is forward. So the only way to move through that discomfort, to get through being uncomfortable, is to just go through it. Just move forward in spite of these feelings of fear or dread. Now, I have personally learned to be okay with getting uncomfortable. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't come easy. And I had to be in situations where I did not feel great. But over time, I've learned to be okay with getting uncomfortable because I know what it means. It means that I am leveling up. It means that I am moving into a new phase of Raya. It means that I am becoming the person I need to become to achieve the things I want to achieve. Sure, I still feel my heart rate increasing and my skin get hot when those uncomfortable situations or things pop up for me, but I lean into those feelings. I never run from them anymore. And I remind myself when I am feeling those things that I'm leveling up. It's a sign. It's my sign I'm becoming the Raya I ultimately see myself as. And I want to give you some examples because I think sometimes that's like the best way to do it. So here are a handful of instances where I chose to get out of my comfort zone and be uncomfortable. So these were scenarios where I either didn't want to have the conversation or I didn't want to do something or I felt uncomfortable doing something. So maybe it wasn't even a matter of want. I just felt that uncomfort. Here's a good example. Teaching in front of a live audience. Earlier this year, I was asked to speak about budgeting for small business owners at a town hall meeting for Black business owners. The minute I was asked, or the minute I read the message asking me if I wanted to speak, I felt uncomfortable. Like the thought of presenting in front of people, it's scary. Public speaking is, at least for me, it's a scary thing. So instantly I felt uncomfortable, but I wanted to do it anyways. I knew I had to do it, but I wanted to. So even though I felt uncomfortable, I wanted to do it because I know that the more I do it, the better I'm going to be, number one. But number two, what I have to teach can truly help people. So I would be selfish to not do it because I feel uncomfortable. That's like not even an excuse for me. And I've actually done a few in-person speaking events and workshops, and I've found that the more I do them, the more confident I am in my abilities. And this does not mean I don't get nervous every time, because trust me, I do, but I still do it anyways. And I always, every single time, I always feel amazing after I do. Another example of me getting out of my comfort zone was having a hard conversation with a friend and saying no to her wants so I could protect my own peace and happiness didn't come easy. I know that I shared an episode why you should prioritize your happiness first. And it's not always easy to do that, right? Especially if you're a people pleaser, or especially if you care about the person that is asking you to do something that you don't want to do. And to just get open with you, it was a birthday trip that I had invited her on. She was a very close friend of mine. She still is a very close friend of mine. But she asked me if she could bring a friend on this trip. This was a friend that I had never met. I didn't know. And it was going to a place that was completely not in the States. It was an international trip. And I told her no. I want to spend my birthdays around people that I love and care about, not people I don't know. And so I told her no. And it wasn't easy. It felt scary, but I'm so glad I did. And her response back was very understanding. So all that fear and uncomfort was really self-inflicted. And then the final example was raising the rent with my rental property tenants. So I don't know. I haven't really processed why this discussion was so hard, but with property values rising, mortgages are rising, and therefore that means rent is rising. And so we were in a position where we had to raise the rent. Otherwise, the rent wouldn't cover the mortgage. So, it was pretty plain and simple. Even if I was uncomfortable, I had to have this conversation because I'm not making up the difference. So it was uncomfortable to reach out to the tenant and say, hey, this is where we're at. The rent is going to this. But the response back was completely understand, Raya. Thank you for letting me know. That's not a problem. Once again, I created this fear. I created this uncomfortable feeling, and everything was fine. So those are 3 examples of situations that made me uncomfortable, but I was so much better off after each of those situations happened. So being uncomfortable really puts your present comfort, so your comfort at this moment, at risk so that you can have future happiness. So it's like, should I just be uncomfortable right now, get it over with so that in the end I can be as happy as possible? That's what being uncomfortable does. And at the end of the day, we all just want to be happy, right? So if you take anything from this episode, I think it's this. Don't associate happiness with comfort. They are not contingent on each other. Happiness is usually on the other side of discomfort. And it's hard to see that before you get there, but having faith and taking the leap always pays off. So if the thought of investing in your financial education makes you uncomfortable, here is your sign to step out of your comfort zone, because the Money Management Mastery program is open, but only for a few more days. This is my 8-week live group coaching and online course that is designed to help women learn how to master the money they make. We cover mindset, how to create and stick to a budget, monitor and tracking spending, handling budget setbacks, setting money goals, and so much more. You get templates, trackers, workbooks, and 8 weekly group coaching calls live with me and all the other amazing students. I open this program 1 time per year, and that time is now. You can join or learn more at citygirlsavings.com/money management mastery. And I will make sure to link to it in the show notes. So here's to being uncomfortable and blessings coming our way because of it. Thank you so much for tuning in to City Girl Savings today. I hope you feel empowered and inspired to master your money as you make your way to your dream life. Make sure you subscribe so you're the first to know when a new episode comes out. I truly value your thoughts and feedback, so please leave a review and let me know how this podcast has impacted you. Can't wait to chat soon and make it a great day.